Hmm. Is this on? I wonder. Okay, seems to be on. Let's listen to myself and cringe. Wonder. Hmm. Is this on? I wonder. Alright, that's a bit low. Let's see if it gets better. Okay, seems to be on. Let's listen to myself and cringe. Yep, nope, that's good. Okay. Let's see how I hear myself or a YouTube video. Is there anyone here? Nope. I wonder. Alright, that's a bit low. Alright, that should be working. Let's post that somewhere. Let's post my video everywhere. Can I post it here? I can actually. Interesting. Let's see who I want to attract. Who I want to have listen and watch. Well, you can always watch it afterwards. Well, kind of waiting for Catcher. So I can play a quick battle match while I wait. 10 minutes, just gonna... No, not that. Just gonna take the screen blocker off and see if anyone shows up. I hope I named this correctly. Yeah, it seems to be in order. Seems to be fine. Let's see, I can technically do an intro. Yeah, I guess. Trying to teach Ketru, a returning player, how to prepare for this Conquest World Cup thing called the WWC. And since I'm gonna teach him anyways, might as well make the information publicly available, teach everyone. So this is what we'll be doing. I will be going over faction selection, picks and bans, army building, gameplay, and at the end a short section about the difference between conquest, land battle. I guess I could include domination there too. Let me write that down. Alright, not finding any quick battles. Right, the stream's been running. I haven't checked the chat. I don't have any. I don't think there's any viewers yet either. Well, let's wait for people to show up now. Ooh, found a game. Hooray, hooray. Actually, just play that right now. Oh, where would I even see the chat? That's not it. That's not it. Stream. No. I guess I do have to have YouTube open on the side. Anyways, let's look in the race, see what he picked. Let's see. Nobody yet on the stream. Then I'll just keep. Oh shit, he readied up with Slanesh. Motherfucker, let's do a quick, simple leadership debuff blob. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you need to be doing this, this, and this, and you need this and this. And then we need a bunch of black guard, 1, 2, 3. It's pretty much the build. Let's have some initiative. Actually, 1 is probably enough. Do I need mass? I don't think I want any mass, honestly. Let's get a bunch of cheap spares and 650. Just a Corsair, whatever. Hi, Renataki. How are you doing?
Hello, Grandpa. I'm doing good. Just about preparing for the land battle new player tournament myself.
Nice.
What's
Wait,
up?
new player? Fine. Let me up you a bit. Not you personally, just people on voice in general. So we have the same decibel level. And I see someone in the YouTube chat now. Cool. Alright, need to manage all my windows. I'm basically waiting for Ketri to show up so I can then talk to him about all of this, teach him about all of this.
So he's your primary guinea pig, right?
No, he's just the one who asked for the whole thing. So
that's
I
a yes.
just decided afterwards to make it into something that other people can also enjoy. Or benefit from, rather.
Of course, of course. I'll also be doing probably a couple of casts because Morse gave me access to the replays folder.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Very nice. Let me quickly listen to the stream if you're audible. It gets better. Okay. Seems to be on.
Sure.
Let's listen to myself and cringe. Yep, nope.
Of course, of course. I'll also be doing probably a couple of...
Yep, perfect. Can hear you perfectly fine.
Good.
Should be meaning that I can hear Catcher too. Perfectly fine.
Yep.
I'll comment on a quick battle. I'm doing a beautiful leadership debuff build where I'm trying the only thing Dark Elves can do against Slanesh, against Fiends in particular, which is leadership debuffing them until they disintegrate, while having Blackguard, almost unbreakable halberds, to tank and hopefully, yeah, no, just tank. There might be Furies, there might be Scrum-Calf, which I hope to counter with what I have here. There is not. There is a Mask, which is fine, because my guy is anti-infantry. There is an Alurus, there is Seekers that are completely out of position. Let me boom them real quick. And then, yeah, just kill one model. Fuck yeah. Beautiful, beautiful chariot action that is really great against things like this. Shoot again. How long are you reloading for? Dude. Okay. Yep, just kills another 1 model. Nope, 4 models this time. Nice. Right, now we need to shoot the Exalted Demonettes, the actual counter to my build. What the fuck? Bro brought the counter. Oh, it's fine. Let's go and fuck up the mask slightly outside my range, because I think I can, really. Right, so now everything's engaged, except it's not. It's just half his army and half my army. And you need to really be shooting there.
My power is yours.
Let's actually get his lord disintegrating. I think that disintegrates anyways. At least I hope it does. It's gonna possibly get into my box here. No, he's fucking it up. He might not be the newest of all players here, so yeah. I'm not gonna forgive him for that, but just saying he might not be the newest of players. So we're killing all the single entities, that's really just the goal here. So that the leadership collapses and everything wrecks just like that. Or disintegrates, which is even better. And I think my darling assassin can pretty much do it on his own. Oh, this guy, and you guys go for this, and you being chilling, just shoot at whatever. And this guy really should be shooting. There's a minimum range on this stupid thing, which is stupid, as I said, but I can't shoot outside of that. And it can't shoot a melee, which sucks, so I'm gonna try to position it, angle it to kill this thing. Right, now we can just recharge different units and they should die, and there shouldn't be anything you can do about it. Might as well just Spirit Leech things, because why not? Use the chariot and melee, should be fine. Yeah, game's over. No need to prolong it. No need to comment on that anymore, this shit's over. Now the Seekers are gonna try to kill my shrine, but I mean, I won't, so... We disintegrate the Seekers, we can. Leadership bomb, hooray! Oh, they're running, but they should be... Yep, army losses. It wasn't my best work, but it's the build that works, not the play. Yeah, value difference is very clear. Quick battle things, just happens. I see Gepador in chat, nice. Still missing Ketru, who I don't really want to start without, because I'm doing it for him. I know he could technically rewatch it later, but that's not the point of this. So there's not really any value on my units except for the assassin that got a nice net of web of shadows off. Oh, and the Corsairs apparently. Did they kill? Probably just marauders. Maybe they also got some hits on the mask. But yeah, the demonic instability crumbling just killed the army. Not as much the damage I was dealing. Let's check with Ketru, who was supposed to be here 13 minutes ago.
He's busy programming.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said he's busy programming. Last minute.
He said he was busy on the phone with a client, but close enough. I know, Nish. Because the Corsairs can defend themselves from threats like Furies, while Dark Shirts can't do anything about that. Also, their DPS is much higher against unarmored factions like Slanesh. Yeah, generally try to go for handbows over Dark Shirts if you're not expecting high amounts of armor. I'm just gonna play another one. I kind of have replays to go over too. I could, anyways. Yep, he's still on his phone. He responded to me with one hand, trying to write 5 minutes, but that didn't fully come out that way. So yeah, I'll be doing another quick battle, see what we find before we move on to the actual action. Maybe I'll actually just restart the stream when he's here. Nah, let's let it run. I have first 20 minutes to get through, to get to the actual content. Har. Well, we're not finding matches. I want to go through some replays that I downloaded. That could be fun. Right, I needed to take a screenshot of this one. That was one of my domination games that I wanted to have looked at. And that one's Domination 2, and that one is a different thing. Ew, we have faction war games, which I shouldn't be casting them. Yeah, nah. Shouldn't be casting them. But I can cast these. Which one does look interesting? This one looks fun. Greenskins versus Lizardmen, Incars versus Taco. Let's see. Let's analyze. Let's highlight all their mistakes. Build-wise, build-wise is fine. The Lizardman build's a bit light on skirmish, having 0 skirmish. I personally like something to be applying poison, but I get it. You want to make the Dreadsaurian work, and so you try to go as wide as possible while having the Dreadsaurian as your centerpiece and carry piece. Cold One Riders, because the Cold Run Spear Riders don't really make a difference in Lizardmen, so you might as well save your 150 gold. A Heavens Caster, Wind Blast to clear out Orc Boys. And what the fuck was that? Wait, what spell was that? That was Gaze of Morg. Crazy.
Here is the guinea pig.
Hello.
Headbutt. Nobody takes that spell.
The Pinigig hits me.
And he missed the spell too. Hi, Katru. I'm just quickly gonna cast the game here before we get started. So great engagement here. He's trying to go from the flanks, not from the front. The Greenskin army is kind of a box, so trying to attack them from the flank instead of from the front is much better. Denies them their beautiful formation, which they now have to break. Also a little fuck up with the Savage Orc Boar Boys running out, thinking his opponent wasn't paying attention, and getting them caught and probably killed off quite quickly. And next we're focusing the cohort of Sotek with archers, great, because they have no armor, no shields. Perfect target for that, really good. Should be moving these 2 spearmen up, he is gonna do that soon, but that gives these ret quests an opportunity to go into the back. Some Goblin Spears have caught Cold One Riders, not really I guess. No, the Cold One Riders are fine. Let's look at the action. So the Dreadsaurian blob has formed. It's being shot, but not with high AP. Yes, with high AP. Ooh, and rampaged. That should die rather quickly if the archers are focusing it. Well, the red quests are kinda interrupting it. Getting cold-blooded so they don't red. Great tag. What are we casting? I'm guessing Gaze of Morg. Nope. Revivification Crystal. Wind Blast on the Rusty Arrows, very nice. Very low armor, HP unit. Tons of greenskins still left. Not so many Lizardmen still left, but there's some little wins on the side here and here. Here and there. Plus the Feral Dreadsaurian is now in the middle of everything and he gets to kill things. Should probably focus the Lord instead of the hero, because he's already right in the archers, might as well go for the Lord. He's not going for the archers really. Wait, there's no Ruglets? Did I miss them? No, there is no Ruglets. That's a mistake. Broken Tusk mob gets beautifully sandwiched. Gets charge off on Cold One Riders, but since they're running, it's a limp charge. So he's now getting torn apart. They are now getting torn apart by 2 calf units. Goblins are too late, plus won't make much of a difference. Feral Dreadsaurian still rampaging through the lines. Ooh, a Squig summon. That's cool. No, that was just there. He just had a Squig. Crazy. Okay. Yeah. Swamp Things fighting Croxigorus, they really like to do that. And soon they'll fight the Feral Dreadsaurian. Doesn't really look good for the Lizardmen, their shit's getting picked apart, but again, they're getting some pigs on the sides, but the main engagement is not going their way. Especially with the Feral Dreadsaurian still being concussioned. Value check, yep, 1000 value. 500 value paid for itself, and we have some more here. 377, not great. And I guess the Rusty Arrows are somewhere. Oh, Ruglets were there, I just missed them. And the rusty arrows are here, and they also didn't pay for themselves. So the collapse from the sides went well, shut down everything really well. But now the Draxorian's almost dead. It's a feral monster, so it rates. Swamp Things are being chilling, but the Rev Crystal might get it back if Lizardmen have a mobility advantage, which they do. There's only one Squig, only one Savage Orc or Boy, big and left. Oh, and it's still being shot, so there's a good chance it's just gonna die off. Let's see. Ooh, the Lord's chasing it. Funny. But also means like it won't come back. Swamp Things. That means, however, the leadership aura is missing here, and the Swamp Things are more prone to rating, especially. Oh, never mind. Thought those were goblins. They're orc boys. Nothing's gonna happen to them. I say that, but now they're rating. Ooh, Miasma of Despair. Nice. Okay. Good leadership bump. Got him. Greenskins just have infantry left, which is not really a win condition, but there's some archers which can be a win condition. Let's see how it goes. All the mobility of the Greenskins has been chased off, I think. Meanwhile, Shredder has been, not Shredder. Feral Dread has been chased off, shouldn't come back. Let's quickly see. 5, dead, gone. Cool. Little Goblin Lord is far out of position. Lizardman might realize. No. Doesn't realize, doesn't punish. I mean, the guy's going for it, but he's too slow. So the infantry might get to carry the game. Some feral colds were caught in Goblin Spears, disengaging well. And now, what's that spell? Here we go. On Quick Hurt so they can punch up with their pathetic melee attack. And yeah, let's see. Where's the Lizardman mobility? 1, 2, only 2 cold ones left, and the archers are firing or blocked? Firing. Well, they're saying they're firing, I don't see it. Oh, there we go. Like 3 archer fires. Oh, there we go. That does, however, hit these units too. Fast forward. Good screening with the goblins, so the cold ones don't just get a free charge. Everything's getting fucked by Nakai because he's very strong in melee. Also has infinite vigor, so he's still fresh. Oh my god. Yep, Lizardman's got this. Turns out infantry is not a win condition. And the Lizardmen take it in the end. Cool. Quick cast of a quick game while we were waiting for Ketru. Now that Ketru's here, we can get to the meat of it. Ketru, please just chime in with questions if you have any or you don't understand something. So, I
No
have
questions for now.
a little. I'm gonna turn you up a bit more. All right.
I was saying no questions.
My first bit is about faction selection, picks and bans. As you probably know, we're doing a pick pick 3 ban 1 system with 2 global bans. Yeah. Do that. No, I can't. With 2 global bans, so you get 3 faction bans for every single round. I should get a paint instance running and put that in there too, so we can see a little bit, so I can draw some things just in case we need it. Let's add that. No, not visible. Okay, let's take that out again. Let's try to get this. We want a fenster. Yeah, sure. Paint. Okay. No, this is too big. Just a little paint, just in case we need it. There, that's great.
I'm moving to the other channel to start stream. Good luck and have
Thank
fun.
you. Can I draw? Oops.
Thank you.
Yes, I can. How thick is this? Test. All right, that's readable. legible. Well, I assume make it so. All right, so we have a 2 global ban, 2 global ban, and pick 3 ban 1. I assume you know what that means. That means
Yes.
this color is horrible. That means you ban dwarfs and empire, obviously, as your 2
Of course.
global bans. It is a given, which leaves you with 1 extra ban per pick 3. One of your pick 3 is going to get banned by the opponent, which will then give you a choice of 2 factions versus their 1 picked faction. Good pick system doesn't put anyone at a disadvantage as far as I know. In round 3, if it gets there, if both players win 1 game, there is a pick 2 system. That means you just pick 2 factions, you don't ban anything, and your opponent doesn't ban anything. Alright, let me check notes. Notes that I just closed, because I'm an idiot. Of course, I closed my notes. Here. Cool. So let's start off with a general thing. Don't pick factions that you don't know how to play. Don't pick factions that you're uncomfortable playing. It's better to end up in a bad matchup with a faction you know than a good matchup with a faction you've never played before.
What if I'm a meta slave?
Then you pick the meta factions. I mean, that's a given. I'll get there. Just more general information. So let me erase this quickly. Refill it with a nice gray. All right, let's see. We have a couple of things we need to pay attention to when we pick our factions. First of all, the map. Well, maps. The map. Map's important. Not every faction works on every map. Alpine Ridge is a map with a giant hill in the middle. If you're planning on playing a static faction like Grand Cathay or a box faction that relies on artillery like Vampire Coast, you will be severely hindered by the giant hill in the middle that your opponent can use to sneak up on you. Other maps like Pillar of Bone also prevent you from playing long-range artillery factions because you just start right next to your opponent. So when you have to consider the map, you have to consider your faction pool. Faction pool. You have to consider your opponent's faction, if you know them. And Ketri just messaged me. Ketri, you can just talk. Oh,
I gave you a list
you
for
sent me
reference.
the map pool. So there is Peak Pass. Let me go from the top. Peasant Peak Pass. Yeah, Peak Pass is the first map that is a special map. It's gigantic. You start off very, very far from your opponent. Both players need to go slightly uphill to meet in the middle. Player who gets to the middle first has technically a high ground advantage. Not the best map for rush factions, as it takes a very long time to get to your opponent. Peasant Pasture is another map that you need to pay attention to. It is full of trees. Any heavy shooting build or cavalry focused build is going to struggle a bit on this map. What do we have? Southern Chaos Waste is cleaner. Bitter Dunes. Oh, Tourney Grounds, another heavily forested map where you should pay attention to the trees. So you shouldn't build a static ranged build or mass cavalry build. And I have been ignoring chat. I am so sorry. Hi Codex, I see you. Blah, blah, blah. Secrets, talking to each other. Cool, no questions from me so far, thank God. Because I was ignoring that. Alright, so back to the topic at hand. faction selection, picks and bans. We've covered the map, we've covered your own faction pool, and if you by chance know your opponent's faction pool, that should be opponent's faction pool there. Opponent's faction pool.
How many factions do you recommend to have in your faction pool?
All right, right, since you're a returner, you need to have at least 7 to be comfortable. So 7 because 7 gets reduced to 5 by 2 global bans. 5 gets reduced by 1 to 4 because of the round ban that everyone gets. And then the faction you play in game 1, you cannot play again in game 2 or 3, which will bring you down from 4 to 3 to 2 in the last game. So 7 factions is what I recommend you know. If you play Nurgle, Nurgle does not count because Nurgle will never get banned. If you play Warriors of Chaos, that can be banned. I don't think Skaven ever get banned. Nurgle doesn't get banned. Kislev probably doesn't get banned. Khorne never gets banned. So if you play some of the unpopular factions, they don't usually get banned. Bretonnia never gets banned, so Bretonnia, Nurgle, Skaven is probably safe.
Understood.
Right. Now, your opponent's faction pool is, you probably don't know your opponent. Chances are somebody in the community knows your opponent. It is completely fine and legal to ask around, especially if you have a clan, if they know what factions the opponent plays. And depending on what factions they play, you might adapt your own choice of factions. Right, gonna check my notes real quick. Alright, Katru, will you tell me what factions you like to play or you can play or you would like to play?
Can start with Dark Elves, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Tomb Kings.
Mm-hmm.
I already played Ogres. I don't feel like touching them though. Beastmen.
Crossing them out, so Beastmen, yeah, we have 3 out of 7. What am I doing? Got any more?
Khorne.
Khorne, nice.
Vampire Pirates. And Skaven. I suppose I touch these.
Cool. Alright, that's
But I'm interested
6.
in expanding my
6
horizons.
factions, I'll give you some more. With these 6 factions, let's quickly look at each of them, what counters them. Let's see if we can find some common counters for you to use your local ban on. Maybe we can find some pick 3s that work. I mean, I already see these 3 factions here, the first 3, super strong, basically have no hard counters. Dark Elf Beastman slightly countered by Slanesh. Dark Elf Beastman. What else are we countered by? Demons? No. Beastmen are good against demons. Greenskins? No. Khorne? No. Norska. Well, Norska kind of counters you here a little. Norska counters all of your factions. Just locally ban Norska. Plus expand your pool to Norska because fucking strong faction right now. Even with all the unit bans in effect, can't take worms, can't take the ROR Chimera. Thanks to the latest DLC, they're just super versatile now, and you should consider taking them into your faction pool. On top of that, sorry for interrupting you. On top of that, you want faction that counters Norska. Wait, Khorne can kind of counter Norska. Getting into that a bit later, but another faction that's good against Norska would be High Elves. High Elves are running out of space. Let's make some space. And then now we can keep looking at pick 3s. So a pick 3 Dark Elf Tomb King Beastman would be ban Norska. Another uncomfortable matchup is Vampire Counts, because Tomb Kings is really bad against them, and Beastman relies on heavy kites to beat them, which in the end comes down to individual player skill. Alright, let's look at other pick 3s. Let's take Skaven, let's take Norska, and a third Khorne. Let's take these 3. Let's see what we can do here. Khorne, Skaven, Norska. Khorne, Skaven. Khorne's technically okay against Norska, so we don't have to ban Norska this time. Norska weak against High Elves, but Khorne and Skaven are both decent, okay against High Elves. Although I guess you do want to ban High Elves, or you do want to ban Siege actually, because Khorne is pretty weak against Siege. Skaven's pretty strong against Siege. Norska, with the latest units, I think you can do some disgusting mass infantry builds and win against Siege. So maybe we shouldn't ban Siege. Plus Siege is not in the best place right now in the meta.
Okay.
Which leads me Khorne, Skaven. No, that's still okay against Ogres, Tomb Kings, Counts. Well, Counts again kind of Skaven and Norska, but not really. Like you can do Norscan builds that work against Counts nowadays. And what else? What's that? What else? Khorne and Norska can deal with what else? Dark Elves, Skaven and Norska both beat Dark Elves. So most uncomfortable here is probably Siege. Looking through the factions, ban Siege. Could ban VC, VC or Siege.
I suppose Zinch is more likely to be played than Vampire Counts.
Not sure actually. Nobody likes to really play Siege. Quickly looking at these bans, make sure you check your opponent's faction pool if your bans are even relevant. Opponent doesn't play Siege, opponent never played VC before, don't bother banning them. You can also check replays of already played games, probably, or Cossack games. Moving on, High Elves. Let's do another last pick 3. Let's do High Elves, Beastmen, and Skaven, because they're nice in the middle. We have Skaven, we have Beastmen, High Elves being good against Norska, actually. Bretonnian, no. Greenskins, no. Yeah, actually good against Greenskins here. Skaven, Khorne. Nope, that's fine. Lizard's fine. What else? Uncomfortable, but fine. Tomb Kings, still fine. Ogres. I mean, you got Beastmen in there. Yeah, fine. All right, let's check Skaven, High Elves. Ooh, yeah. Ogres kind of good there. Now, for this particular matchup, Ogres against High Elves, it's possible on giant maps for the High Elves, like Peak Pass. But in this normal pick 3 Beastmen, Skaven, High Elves, I would still ban the Ogres, just because the Skaven lose to them so hard, and High Elves is not comfortable to play against them. Again, check your opponent's faction pool. In this case, check the map, because it might be Peak Pass, and then you can go High Elves and kite the Ogre Lead Belchers with your... You actually see my Warhammer screen. I just need to check the name of the units. Skycutters. Bolt Throwers. Yes, they do counter Lead Belchers quite well, quite nicely, even.
Nice.
Alright, so much for faction selection, picks and bans. Yes.
We've got a viewer question, if you're willing to answer it.
Thank you. Burst play.
Not...
Okay, Nalnish, Berserk plays everything. Good luck.
And we got another in the non-stream chat.
Alright, tabbing. But yeah, Berserk doesn't actually play everything. He plays all the chaos shit. Be careful. He plays it really, really well. What's the question? Oh,
Ah, it's
Torreson has a question. Faction pool, high elves, dark elves, etc., etc., etc. Let's quickly go into a corner that we haven't gone to yet. For the text, here we have the text. Let's make that large. All right. Oh, can I not zoom in there and then how do I move keys? Here. So we have legible high elves, dark elves. Well, that one's global banned, so never mind that. Yes, so this is the faction pool. You cannot play global banned factions, so that's why we cut that out. So what does he wants to know what he bans. Well, obviously, Empire and Dwarfs. There's no other bans with this faction pool. It doesn't matter if the faction pool. Literally doesn't matter. Any faction you play, always ban that shit. Pick threes that are not super vulnerable to Norska. It's kind of difficult. I mean, Kislev can pull it off, and Grand Cathay can pull it off against Norska. But that means you need high elves plus one of these two in every pick three. Unless your opponent already played Norska, or you can ban Norska. What other factions are currently super OP? I mean, you have a really good faction pool against ogres, so don't worry about that. Dark elves. Yeah, you can play Greenskins, Tomb Kings, Dark elves into Dark elves. Other good factions, Warriors of Chaos is just always uncomfortable playing against, but all of your factions should work there. All right. So much for faction selection and picks and bans. Ketri, do you have any questions from your side?
how's the VP versus Norska?
Very map dependent, of course. On a very large open map with the worm band, you might have a chance with a bunch of bomber bats if you get really good bombs off on their berserkers. Yeah, period.
I see. So it's about just the bombs and the berserkers, basically.
Yeah, you have to
Okay.
kill the berserkers, you have to kill the bearmen, you have to bring enough damage to kill the bearmen. You can't really attrition them out, they have too much HP. So you might even want to have some regular ground bombers against Norska nowadays.
Understood.
Another question from Nalnish. He wants Greenskin, Skaven, Dark Elves as a pick 3. I mean, you're mega vulnerable to... Not mega, you're badly vulnerable to Norska. You are decently vulnerable to Beastmen, to Slanesh. Ogres you can kind of pull off, depending on a map. Greenskin, Skaven super bad against Counts, so you would have to ban Norska and Counts. It's, yeah, we don't get 2 bans, we only get 1 ban, so... Not great with this pick 3. Other factions he has is High Elves, Norska, and Lizardmen, which will make your pick 3 much more comfortable because you finally have a counter to Norska in there. And the counters, Lizardmen and High Elves counter vampire counts. And Norska is decent against vampire counts now. And he's asking me what the last faction should be. Probably Khorne or Warriors of Chaos, yeah, from what he said. Because they can hit against Norska, they can deal with ogres. Tomb King, sadly, is very, very vulnerable to both Beastmen and Norska, which are very popular and very strong factions right now.
Warriors of Chaos. You recommended Warriors of Chaos with the DLC units included or without?
Well, you don't get any in the tournament, right? They're all banned.
Yeah.
You can't have Bearmen, you can't have the Chimera ROR. You do get regular Chimeras and you do get the Pleasure Guard, which I guess are decently strong. I haven't experimented with them enough yet but as far as I've read, Warriors of Chaos is decently strong with those. Oh, you can also use a mark on your Exalted Hero of Slaanesh because it's undercosted right now. 1110. Let's compare it to the Nurgle one that's also brought quite often. And yeah, kind of sad, honestly, for the Nurgle Hero. Nurgle Hero costs more for more HP, more weapon strength, but way less stats, and much thicker. Much slower. We don't even want to compare to the Khorne, we can compare it to the Siege one, because that one's also really good. That one's not much of a price difference, but Jesus Christ, look at that stats. Stat difference. Alright, I would think we should move on from the faction selection, or do you have any more specific questions?
Nope.
Cool, let's go to the next point, which is on my list somewhere. Army building, yay! Army building, let's say you have chosen your faction and your opponent has chosen their faction, and through some miracle you ended up in a matchup that is not disfavoring you. Let's say you went Norska, let's say they picked Tomb Kings, and you went with, what even is even against Tomb Kings? High Elves, yeah, I went through that earlier. So let's say you picked your High Elves, they picked their Tomb Kings, a perfectly even matchup can go both ways. Now, you've played a bunch of High Elves, you know the basics, you know you like your Imric on a dragon with Lord of Dragons because he just beats everything. You like your, yep, all good. You like your Eltharion with just Apotheosis and Barrage, because you can send him into any cavalry or dog unit and he will instantly delete them. You know your Alariel builds with Earthblood, Tempest, and Arcane Unforging depending on matchups. But Tomb Kings, what do Tomb Kings do? Tomb Kings do 20 stacks, 5 skeletons, 4 skirmishers, big kitty cats, and Chosen of the Gods. Okay, let me just see if I can get an actual build here. And then they probably have some form of mobility in there too, because why not? Something like this. I know it doesn't work with the funds, but something like this. Let's say you're facing Tomb Kings, yeah. You know they'll take something along the lines of this. The biggest variation they could do is in their lord and their monsters, they might just go for 2 catapults and a slightly cheaper lord like Arkan, planning to just spur leech you out and try to spam with his summons. Maybe add a cat just for infantry pressure. Something like that. You need to prepare. sorry. Let me get back to my script. You can. Oh shit! I also need my paint again. So let me redo the paint back before I go into specific builds because I wanted to do it this way. Great. Let me make a bullet point list like I did before. The things you have to consider when making your builds, is of course the map again. We had it earlier, we have it again. We have different build styles. I'm gonna get into that in a second. You can do, sorry. We have this and we have that. All right, we consider the map when we make builds. As I said, 20 grounds, tons of forest that you need to consider when you make your build. You can't go with a 20 archer stack, 10 archer stack on a map like this because they'll be blocked by all the forests. So the maps are important when you consider what build you want to make. Next thing is you can go 3 ways when you make a build. You can predict what your opponent is gonna do. Right. You can predict what your opponent's gonna do. You can do your own thing, where you say, I don't care what he's gonna do, I have my idea and I want to do that. And you can do the old reliable, which is one build fits all. For high elves, one build fits all would be something like Imrink, Dragon Prince, Infantry, Healer Mage, and Caradrian. Just like a heavy single entity focused build that's not supposed to care too much about what your opponent's doing and just wants to take out the opponent's important units one by one with a heavy investment on very strong single entities.
Would you move the paint window, the one with the map?
Right, I
A
should
bit lower.
probably remove the paint window when I show a build. Sorry. There you go. There's the build. That would be a your all reliable build. Next thing I said is doing your own thing. With this would double as your own thing. You can also do you just say whatever they're doing, I don't care. I'm gonna go for my heavy archer build. I checked, the map is not tourney grounds. The map is whatever this thing is. That doesn't have a lot of forest on it. So I can do my heavy archer build. I'll do a bunch of spearmen, a bunch of these. I want some fighting units in there. And some caster, and that's my build. Totally fine. Might work, might not work. We're now getting to the predicting your opponent's army. You know, Tomb Kings, they bring skeleton spears, they bring skeleton warriors, they bring horsemen and horse archers, and there's a very high chance you'll see a War Sphinx and the Chosen of the Gods. So we will go and counter each one of those. Chosen of the Gods countered by one bolt thrower. Already done. Bolt throwers can be shot down, so we must protect it. So we're just going to take the spearmen front line. They will hold forever against skeletons. Next thing, a Sphinx will quickly dispatch of all our spearmen in no time. So we need a counter to a Sphinx. This guy on his horde can chase Sphinxes very effectively and kill them off very easily. The Sphinx will have to spend most of its time running away. He has the issue of getting stuck in infantry, but for now we're just concentrating on the countering the opponent's build. Right, we expect a lot of chaff, so Burning Head, best spell in the game. Very strong skeleton and generally chaff clear. So we bring this, also frees up Tyrion to be chasing the Sphinx. Now, there's only one Tyrion, and there might be two Sphinxes. How do we kill the second Sphinx? Well, this guy does the same thing as Tyrion. You can technically even bring him on his horse, because Chosen of the Gods are really bad at, and Ushap the Great Bows are really bad at hitting horse characters, and he doesn't need to be super mobile to catch the Sphinx with its 78 speed. Also has physical resistance, which is great against anything the Tomb Kings bring, except for this guy. Right, but the Sphinx of Usek is countered by Tyrion with his fire resistance. Next, you want to counter the skirmishers. You don't want to be just shot down, so you probably want a bunch of archers. You're just gonna match the amount they can take. And what else do they have? Right, in this case, yeah, let's counter this army. You're not predicting catapults, because that would be insane. Nobody brings catapults. So you're predicting a normal Tomb King army. No catapults, bunch of cats, bunch of infantry, bunch of skirmishers. What else you need? You need something to stop the cats if they somehow manage to invite your single entities. Oceanids, the Sphinxes cannot push through, and the Oceanids also double up as extra buffer for your archers that you have. Now we're left with 1,400 gold, and we have counted all the things that we assume our opponent is bringing. So the rest of the money can be funds, for example, Dragon Prince. There we go. Now, in your predicting of your opponent's army, you consider them bringing a double Sphinx, which means they bring Cetra, most likely, who comes with Yazirians, the best spell against cavalry in the game. So maybe we don't take those Dragon Princes and instead bring a unit that is much less vulnerable to such a spell. What are we currently lacking? We're not really lacking infantry clear, we're lacking width. So we're just gonna widen up a bit with a bunch more infantry. We have barely any mobility, but since we have these fast, small single entities and we hopefully outrange the Tomb Kings, we should be set.
Nice.
Good.
Is one bolt thrower enough?
For just the Chosen of the Gods, yes.
What if there's...
you're on an open map. If you're on a map with cover, you might want to bring 2 bolt throwers instead.
Wouldn't it be to be expected to have a bow Shapti on top of a Chosen? Isn't it
Personally,
probable?
I don't expect that, but because funds just don't work for that. Actually, they might work. You know what? The funds do work for that. Fair. So, yeah, you know what? 2 bolt throwers. There we go.
Alright. Does Tyrion deal enough DPS to quickly delete the Sphinxes?
No, it will take quite a while to kill the Sphinxes, but the Sphinxes will be running for most of the game if you decide to go this way. They'll be trying to run through your infantry, but you also have archers to shoot them. You also have Oceanids to block them. So sure, they don't deal super high DPS, but they will kill the Sphinxes eventually.
Alright.
Any further questions to what were we talking about? General builds, maps, right?
I mean, no, but we got some viewer questions.
I went over the maps rather quickly. Let me get the paint in. No. What is the viewer questions?
We got 3 of them. One is on the stream. Nalish is asking whether on Conquest people would be more likely
fair.
to bring catapults and corner camp.
You're right. There is a good chance that the opponent might bring catapults. I assume most of these of the chosen maps for this tournament do not have corner camp issues, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, if you expect catapults, you might instead want to go with more of a rush style of high elves and forgo the bolt throwers and forgo your spearmen and archers and instead go for some light cavalry, more oceanids, and more infantry killing.
Alright. And there's 2 more of chat.
Tarsin asked about a general pick 3. I cannot give you solid pick 3s as I have already talked about the importance of the map in your selection and your own faction selection, including your opponent's faction pool. Sorry, your own faction pool, including your opponent's faction pool. General good pick 3s. You know what I can say? Generally good pick 3s include Norska and Beastmen, or Norska or Beastmen, plus High Elves. For some reason, the latest DLC factions seem to be quite strong. I'm purposefully not mentioning Grand Cathay because their DLC gave them nothing worth noting. I guess Bashiva, but she's truly not that strong.
Oppressive.
Yeah, oppressive. Plus the rest of the roster still doesn't really work. I'm not recommending putting ogres in there because Beastmen and Norska are rather strong and both counter ogres. Plus ogres got a bunch of nerfs, so now even Dark Elves and High Elves can do quite well into them. Yeah, so pick the factions you're comfortable with. Try to include Norska Beastmen. And yeah, no, that's that.
And another question from Nalnish, whether it's worth forcing the map, since in the World Championship
Oh,
rule
that
set
is great. I
picked up.
didn't know that. So, since you can apparently influence what map you're playing on, if you are a rush player like I am, focusing Norska Beastmen, Dark Elves, Slanesh, Ogres, you probably want to focus on the forested maps like Peasant Pastures and Tourney Grounds. Just know that if your opponent knows the maps and your opponent is not a rush player, he will definitely ban Pillar of Bone, Peasant Pasture. Wait, Pillar of Bone's not even in there. So he'll definitely ban Peasant Pastures and the Tourney Grounds. Faction pool is rather large, so you can't really force one of the 3 to rush maps. Just be prepared that you'll end up on a less optimal rush map. Like, I mean, Tower of Hoeth is still, you still start fairly close to each other, but it's not Pillar of Bones. Alright, so much for these questions. I have 2 more things in the army building section. Do you have any more questions right now?
No.
Cool. As I said, you want to predict your opponent's army, but you also want to counter-build their faction. Here is one example that I played at the beginning of the stream. Dark Elf army against Slanesh. I'm not going to use Slanesh, I'm going to use Demons of Chaos because this is what the army was built for. Let me just fix it up so it's actually fully legal in this tournament. Let's make it like this. So let's say we know we're going to face Demons of Chaos. We know their whole roster has low armor and will instantly die if their leadership drops below 0. So you know your opponents would never bring Blood Crushers, that's a shit unit. You know they'll never bring Heralds of Khorne's Fury. You know they like rush builds. You know they don't like to bring Noxbringer Kite or Siege Soulgrinder Kite. So you bring something like this. A blob that tries to reduce leadership locally to get the demons to crumble. If your opponent goes for something with range, even just a horror focus build or a soul grinder focus build, you're completely fucked and you will lose very hard. So you basically have to predict them trying to rush you to go a build like this. Oh, okay, so Nalnish said you get to pick the maps, you can't ban. You can force the favorite map. That is absolutely crazy. What the hell? Whoever's doing the pick 3 picks the map. So you can just go Norska Beastmen, Dark Elves, pick one of the 2 forested maps. Crazy. Wow, okay, cool. Yeah, never mind. Then you can totally do that.
In some way that also answers Torresin's question, since if you can get the map pick, you also know what pick 3 to do.
True. Since you decide the map, you can pick the right factions for it. Cool. Yeah. So predictive play, predictive build. Predicting your opponent's not gonna try to kite you. So you bring something like a box. Or blob, rather, in this case. The other thing is you are in a faction war. You're known for playing a faction. you know you have played that faction 100 times, and there is just so many different builds your faction can do. But you're known to go, let me check where it is. Yeah, let's see. You are known to, sorry, you're not known, doesn't matter. You bring Siege. Siege is known for being a very abusive faction, spell kiting faction, hit and run kite faction. Opponents, let's say Stark Elves, expect you to go heavy spell kite, expect you to kite them. So instead, you decide to go full rush and just run it down. That is called tricking your opponent. For example, they expected you to go kite. They were not expecting you to rush them down, and they just lose on build. Another way, they face you again a couple of games later, but this time you decide to go a different style of build. For example, something like this, single entity focused, lots of heavy armor infantry, and single entities. So if you are known to play a faction, if you've brought a faction recently and brought a certain build, try to switch it up in the next game or the game after that to trick your opponents into preparing for the wrong build. Where do I have those actually? Right, I have these games. So, for example, in my siege run in the faction war, I mostly went rush because that's what I'm comfortable with playing, but I did include some Exalted Flamer Kite in there. I switched up my Chaos Warrior and Chaos Knight rush with a spawn rush. I did a heavy air rush just to get ahead of my opponent's builds, who were countering different builds. Let me quickly get to that one. Yes, here. So here my opponent actually straight up told me he was preparing for a spawn rush, which I did 3 games before. Yep, this spawn rush is what he prepared for. I brought a single entity focused chariot build. He wasn't prepared. I won on the build screen. Right, can you see right now army building? Cool. That was the last part of my army building section. Ketru is back. And if there's no further questions about army building, I'll move on.
I'm gonna have a question.
Okay.
For the newer players, not the returners or the intermediate experienced ones. What do you do? How can you have a middle way, a middle ground type of army building strategy when you don't really know every interaction and every counter?
In that case, you can do a do your own thing, where you just bring an army that has worked for you in the past, or that you have seen somebody successfully bring on a stream, and just run that into basically every opponent. If you don't know what you're doing, take somebody else's build, or do what you feel comfortable with. Play the units that you feel comfortable with.
I see. Thanks.
I generally tell people not to bring all-rounder builds, but then this one of the best players brings almost exclusively all-rounder builds. I'm talking, of course, about Berserk. Once my replay folder loads, I can scroll through and see if I can find any of my builds, any of my games against Berserk. But what he does is he always includes 1 or 2 skirmish cav, just in case that I didn't bring any ranged, and then he gets to shoot me for free. Here, yes. So there you go. 1 skirmish cav, 1 chariot. So he has like a complete mix of everything. He has monsters, infantry, dogs, mobility, skirmish cav. He has caster, lord, but he also has a chariot, and of course he won this game by bringing in Dreadmaw. Which I completely forgot existed. So I built the box. The box would have worked if the Dreadmaw wasn't there. But the Dreadmaw was there and completely killed my game plan. But yeah, when I'm saying don't take all-rounder builds, don't take one of every unit, that
Unless you're Berserk.
doesn't apply to everyone. Some people like Berserk pull that off continuously, repeatedly.
Well, it's probably better phrased. Don't take all random builds unless you know why you did it. Don't take them
Yes.
to compensate for lack of experience.
Yes. Okay, Berserk dropped. I have a bunch of domination games here that have sadly no. So they are so different. We can't get any information out of them for this current video. Even a domination game against Berserk. Here again, I completely forgot the worm existed, so he killed me. Very fun, very wormy things. All right. Moving on to my third section. Unless there's any more questions.
No, not from me. Or from the chat.
I see Nurgle's PA writing that many people have global bans Slanesh. They might be domination players. It might be scarred by Slanesh in domination, which is very strong. Don't fret, they are quite weak in land battles and conquest. You can literally just box against them. Even through all the DLCs, even though they have range units now, boxes still work very well against Slanesh. Boxes, blobs, leadership debuffs. Yeah. Very counterable. Don't global ban,
Cool.
no reason to. Okay, not last section, but next section. Let me just get my canvas back so I can write a couple of things, not that color, but this color. And we're doing gameplay, hooray!
We got a question from Nalnish before we move on from army building.
If you don't know your opponent and it's a pretty versatile faction, if it's worth going all around. So if you outskill your opponent, you can go all around. Actually, if you outskill your opponent, doesn't matter anyways. If you have a versatile faction, let's say High Elves, and you are in an even matchup, yes, you can go an all-round build and try to win that way. I'm personally more of a skew person, so I recommend heavy skew. But if you feel more comfortable going an all-round build, go ahead, do that. Okay, gameplay. Next section. We are in the gameplay. So I'll go through a bunch of replays here, but there is a couple of things I want to note in the beginning. You need to, while you're building your army or while you're loading into the game, you need to formulate a game plan. Formulate game. I'm doing this in Paint on purpose because it's funny and looks nice. Jesus Christ. The next thing is too long. I don't want to type that, so I'm just gonna do the lazy way. Let's do that. Large. Nope, not like that. Still too small. Yes. Formulate your own game plan, adapt your game plan after seeing the enemy build, and then again adapt your game plan while you're playing. And last but not least, try to recognize your own win conditions and your opponent's win conditions. Let me zoom in a bit. Oh, that's too far. Yep. I'm sure you can read it. All right, so what does that mean? You're building an army and you have a certain game plan in mind. We were already talking about that when I was showing the half armies. So let me get that out again. In this case, your game plan is you rush your opponent, you push forward, your infantry fights their infantry, your oceanids make sure your infantry doesn't get charged down by their cavalry, and your light cav is diving on any annoying skirmishers or archers. Meanwhile, your single entities hunt their single entities, because you know from experience or whatever that your single entities will beat their single entities. That is your game plan. Now you load in, and your opponent did not, in fact, bring a standard Tomb King army, but brought something wild that you've never seen. Let's see. Let's say they brought an Archon build with a bunch of they brought a skirmish build. You know what? No, they didn't build a skirmish build. They brought an actual heavy box build because I knew a player, they didn't know what to do. So they brought a heavy box build. They reinforced their box with some Shabti. They even brought some Tomb Guards because they are newer players, but they didn't neglect their Chosen of the Gods and some Terror, because why not? So you run into a box build. Your build is not designed to break a box. Your Reavers are going to be super useless. Your Oceanids and Ship's Company are going to take years getting through Spearmen. And these Skeleton Archers will have a field day killing the Oceanids. All while Archon Spirit Leeches your rather low health pool single entities to death. Now, you load in, you see this, your game plan of rushing in has to go into the trash. You have to rethink your approach of this box. First thing you want to do in this case is rotate your whole army around because the opponent's boxing, and as we've seen in the second game that I've shown today, you need to come in from the sides. You can't approach the box from the front. You will do exactly what they want. They get to shoot you for free. So you want to approach them from the side. You probably want to cast a bunch of burning heads before your lines even meet. So you send your mage forward. You send your single entities into a forest out of range of the Archon Spirit Leech, basically trying to just burning head them and surround them. Now you manage to flank them. Let's say you manage to flank them, you manage to get your infantry fighting their infantry, your Oceanids are in there grinding. You shut down a couple of their archers with burning head, like 3 of their archers are still shooting you. Your single entities somehow landed in the fight as well, and Archon is spirit leeching them. They don't really have targets here other than Archon, so they are stuck in Spearmen, fighting Ushabti. One of them is trying to push through to get to Tomb Scorpion or to get to the Chosen of the Gods, but they just can't. You try to recognize your win conditions. What's your win condition? Is killing the archers and killing the Chosen of the Gods. You can always deal with the infantry later. That is your win condition. Their win condition is just keep shooting the Oceanids, keep the skeletons alive, and keep the single entities stuck in skeletons. At that point, the box has probably opened up some holes and you might be able to sneak a Reaver in. You can do column formation and try to get them in, but it's looking pretty grim. If you notice you're losing and you don't think there's anything you can do, you can tap out if you want. Yeah. So that was a quick overview to the gameplay. Formulate the game plan, adapt the game plan on the fly, and recognize win conditions. I'm quickly gonna check if I have a replay for that where I did it.
So what do you do if you're completely countered then by the random build you completely didn't expect?
Try to spell kite. Try to reform your ranks, try to spell kite, move back, analyze the situation, look for holes in their formation,
wait for mistakes, basically.
Wait for mistakes, yeah. Look for micro lapses. So I need to find a battle where I had to reformulate my strategy, where I wasn't just doing the same thing. Yes, this one will work. It's already been casted, but let's take that off and go through this battle real quick. So my intention was he's probably going to have a static build, and I can just rush in and kill the low health pools of all the elves with my massive amounts of weapon strength. Forsaken, shit ton of weapon strength, spawn. I think that's the highest weapon strength any monstrous infantry in the game has. Now I was thinking the Forsaken struggle with armor, but the spawn reduce armor. So I was set up for a wide rush, and I was just sending everything in, go, go, go. Sending the Exalted Herald in first to absorb archer fire with his shields and hopefully dodge. I wasn't doing a great job on that. And I had this guy with Burning Head and the Wand of Whimsy to buff up my whole army. Alright. Seeing this build, it didn't look too bad. It's rather static. Infantry build, I can easily run over all that infantry, but oh no, there is a flying skirmish corps. What can I do against this? Nothing. I literally have no way to interact with them. Let's ignore the blue horrors because they're irrelevant. So I ignore them. I do what I thought I had to do, which is just rush in, rush in, rush in. I did send my spawn on slow mode in the beginning so they wouldn't run ahead of the Forsaken. That was a bit of a mistake, although not really, because Illyrian Reavers, they have such low mass that the Forsaken can countercharge them and will win on the charge. Like, the Reavers take more damage than the Forsaken. The other thing that was happening at the same time, what I noticed a bit too late, was that Alariel and the Skycutters were sniping my mage. So, desperation move, quickly toss out a spell before he gets righted off. I can't peel him off. In my build, I have no mobility. I only have my Lord and my Hero that are slightly mobile, but they were out of position, couldn't help that. Toss out the spell, everything else got into the fight. So we're gonna fight. The spawn couldn't peel. I think in a moment she's gonna get back in the sky and the spawn gets rerouted. I say, fuck that guy, I don't need him anymore. Let's just kill all the infantry, as I was planning to from the beginning, and let's hope these guys get army loss or just leadership debuffed from the lack of ground units. Now, my push was less effective than I hoped. His spearmen held a lot better than I thought. Also made some mistakes here, over chasing, not rear charging, not going for this guy. My Lord and Hero trying to kill infantry, what they're not made for. Yeah, and spawn sitting in spearmen getting infinite value off spawn. Moving on. So far nothing really changed about my game plan. Just still trying to wipe all the infantry, not interacting with any of the single entity flyers. Just protecting my infantry with the spawn from the cycle charging here. And kill infantry, chasing off routing infantry, just want everything off the field so that I can army loss these guys. Too bad, there was a full health archer here that couldn't possibly chase off, so I decide I need to change my game plan. Instead of chasing all these low health units and that guy, I decide to sit in the point. I have high armor, the archers are not gonna hurt me. The flying skirmishers are not going to hurt me. I still have plenty of mass to stop them from just cycle charging me. And I'm going to regen some shields, probably. Meanwhile, these guys, this one's almost dead anyways, at like 10 HP left. Yep. Chasing things off, and this guy just fighting. I think my opponent at this point noticed what I was doing and saw this guy out of position, so he's... Wait, he didn't see him. Yep, now he's gonna go for, well, eventually he's gonna go for that guy. Try to chase off stragglers, and I realized this, I need to bring him, because these 3 units can kill this unit. I need to bring him back to the fold, which I'm doing here, and now I'm just sitting at a point, using my spawn and my Lord and Heroes to not get cycle charged to death. So they charge in, I charge them back, they take some damage, charge in, charge back. Now, his infantry was close enough, I wanted to get a charge on them, because the charge bonus of the Forsaken is so high, and I just charge around, kill. The game goes on and on and on and on, because he was still kinda trying to cycle charge me to death. I really struggled killing these 2 spearmen without my charge bonus. Now I refreshed it. The point's still mine, his infantry's dead, he can't really recapture it, he's trying to win it on the killing of my units. He realizes he can't, so he's trying to capture the point. I realize I just need to hold the point until it's 500, 600, whatever tickets. So I go fight in the point. He did eventually rat my Exalted Hero, but my Lord was still full HP. So I knew I was going to win as long as I could hold this. My Lord wouldn't die in that short time. And eventually I realized you can capture it, so I just started running in circles because I could. It's safer, it's less damage taken that way. And then I win on points. Any questions to this particular game or to the section of gameplay?
No, not really. I think a summary would then be that you gotta play to your strengths regardless.
Yes.
In the
It's
beginning,
recognize when the battle changes, recognize your win conditions. You can try recognizing their win conditions and try to shut them down, but chances are they will heavily micro their own win conditions and won't let you mess with them too much.
yeah.
Which brings me to a very important point. Let me share this again. Where is it? There. Last portion of this section, you have to micro your win conditions.
I guess a preliminary, although maybe it would be obvious for most
Yes,
people, but if anyone.
If you don't have good enough micro, if you're too slow with your reactions, whatever, just micro units that will win you the game. Don't bother with the rest. It's better to under micro than to over micro. Giving one unit 50 different commands isn't going to do anything. Better to give 3 units 3 commands than 1 unit 50 commands. If a unit's already fighting and it's fighting something that's okay to fight, leave it there, leave it to fight, and try to cycle in and out and in. It's probably just gonna cost you a bunch of free damage. Alright, looking. There's no further questions, it seems. Or do you have anything, Catcher?
There's one from Null. If you
Yes, that is the
whether
last section, actually. Let's not rush that. Let's
Haha.
stick to gameplay for now. The last section is about what Nal just asked.
Alright.
Let's just switch to that. The last section is about Conquest versus Lamp Battle. We are sadly playing on Conquest. And unlike Lamp Battle, there is no rules. Your opponents get to do what they want, they get to abuse you as much as they want. As you saw in the game, I used the victory point to win. I would have won the game most likely anyways with my Lord carrying me, but the victory point was what won me the game in the end. When do you have to consider that the victory point exists? In my opinion, it heavily depends on who you are facing and your own build. If you are rushing with a actual rush faction, not a high elf rush, but a Norscan rush or a Beastman rush, you do not need to care about the conquest points. There is a high chance that the game's going to be over before the conquest point would ever become relevant. Now, if you are facing somebody with the ODM, VM, CB tag, expect there to be kiting, and you might want to put a timer on them by capturing the conquest point early. Even when you're rushing, let's say you're fighting ODM, I don't know. Who's in ODM that I know? The name
Alfred.
Let's say you're fighting ODM Alfred. Alfred is a methodical player. He sometimes likes to slow down games. So it is in your interest in any matchup to put a tiny bit of effort into capturing the point, just so that you can put some pressure on Alfred, on your opponent, sorry. Yes, the worst people to face in Conquest is obviously the creators of the Conquest mode. That is, God, who's that even? Gojira and, fuck's sake, you know their names? I forgot their names. If you run across
Yamias.
Sorry?
Yamias and Godzilla.
Yes, Rimayas and Gojira and the last person, I don't know who you said. But if you...
No, I just said those two, sorry.
Okay, if you run into one of them, expect them to heavily abuse the mode and make sure you capture the conquest point as early as you can. I have, I've mentioned abusing the mode, so that's what Nalnish asked about. Can you build around the game mode? And yes, you can. Let's say we're playing Peak Pass, because we chose Peak Pass, and let's say we're playing Siege. And we are piece of shit bastards, or we're playing somebody that we do not respect at all. So what we do in that case is we prepare to completely and utterly spellkite them. Let's say the poor sobs picked Bretonnia against Siege. Technically not a bad matchup for Bretonnia. Just needs to be prepared for a spawn rush or a Centigo rush. Just needs a bunch of units here. Line Shield, Base Champion, Sword of Corone. Probably need a healer. And probably want a bunch of knights too. Well, let's say we take a Grand Knight and somehow fit that in here. There you go. Right, but it's Conquest and you're Siege, so you're like, okay, fuck you, I guess. I'm gonna go with a corner camping lot of 5 halberds, our pinks, spawn, because we don't want to be cycle charged to death, and we'll take the screamers because I think they're 90 speed and they shouldn't be able to catch them fully. That one, whatever. Alright, you load into the game, you bring this. You, let's just go against the AI, it's fine. I think they're on passive anyways. This is absolutely and completely forbidden on that battle. This is the Conquest special. You see this one. Actually, you know what? Just for this game, I'm gonna leave the blocker up because it's very relevant. You know it's Bretonnia. They don't bring AoE magic. Even if they do, you position your fucking army. I don't know, here. Because why not? Because you have all you need right here, right? You have your screamers, you have your lord, and that's all you need. So you go and have fun. You see, okay, there's a bunch of archers, King Lewin, 1 hippo, no other flyers, cool. So what do we want to do? We want to kill the archers and we want to kill the hippos. The only thing that can possibly hurt our block. Actually, the hippos can't, it's just the archers. So it's Conquest mode, we don't need to attack or anything. We don't give a fuck about the point. That doesn't tick up fast enough. So we're just gonna go ahead and cast a bunch of spells at them. And dodge the archer fire, and dodge their units, and just run away. They will slowly advance towards the point, it's rather far, at least a minute until that unlocks. And we just want to kill all their win conditions. And let's say, oh no, they're shooting at Kairos, but then again, they're just shooting at Kairos. Bro has armor, bro has lots of speed, super shitty, janky model, and I can just ping chilling here. Oh, extra magic, let's see if we can kill the whole army with just Kairos and the shrieking bitches. Already, 1 rioting, we can just sneak on through. Let's say these guys are busy chasing that guy. just gonna pew, and I have infinite one because I'm siege. Da 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 da. One more. Pew. And fuck that guy. They're all routing, and everyone will cast at a melee range, but whatever. That's right. All their archers, and at that point, they might have the conquest point, but at that point, you can just go ahead, mark everything, and slowly march that to the conquest point. By the time that you reach the conquest point, they will have lost all their win conditions, they cannot cycle charge the 3 spawns, and you have won the game. Oh, just in case you really wanted to fuck them, if the hippogriffs ever land, you can just gaze of fate them, and they will die. That's how you play Conquest. Nanish once again asked me how do you know what your opponent plays? You have to ask. You have to ask your clanmates, you have to ask their clanmates, you can ask them directly. You can watch a lot of streams and get a feeling for what they like to play. Yeah. This is one way to play Conquest. The other way is obviously Chaos Dwarves. You just go big single entities and you just flying single entities and you cycle charge them to death without really engaging with your infantry corps or whatever, if they don't have enough mass to stop that kind of thing. Who else can
Or you
abuse?
death streak from behind the trees.
Well, no, that would be completely fine. Oh, yeah, from in... Oh, right. Let's see what maps we have. I mean, technically on Knight's Run, I guess you can put half your army into the forest. Let's see. Yeah, you can pretty much camp like these forests here. If you know your opponent's gonna go range heavy, you can just sit in the forest. Also completely legal on Conquest. Yeah, Nanish is asking for faction matchups. Again, faction matchups are a learned thing. There used to be Matrix, that's not up to date anymore. It hasn't been kept up to date, and it's based on opinions, it's not a factual thing. You might feel comfortable playing High Elves into Dark Elves, and others might be like, that is completely unplayable. Yeah. So yeah, that is the end of my pretty much section here. Keep an eye out for ODM, VM, CB, and any of the creators of the Conquest mode. Make sure they don't get a Spellkite matchup against you. You can prevent Siege Spellkite by bringing skirmisher builds or nets or heavy shooting factions like Skaven and Grand Cathay that can combine nets with heavy shooting. Any questions?
No. I'm good.
Alright, I technically have more replays to go through, but they were meant to be good replays. Looking for good players though. Raced against sexy, but let's go through that, and at that point I'll end the stream. Yeah, Nurgles, yeah, I just mentioned that you park your army in a corner while spellkiting, and yes, that's what I did as Siege there. So this is supposedly a good game, but the armies aren't moving. This is famously a very cursed matchup for the Chaos Dwarves. So we have Dresshoeth. I hope he has it. He has it? No, he has Ash Storm. And the other guy has Burning Head. Oh, going for the fire weakness debuff strategy, that never works. On the other side, we have a bunch of skirmishers, ROR, skin wolves. Okay, so it's meme armies both sides. Meme armies because Moss of Savagery are overcosted and not worth it. And a Cursed Etin isn't usually a good unit against Chaos Dwarves, which like to shoot things. And Hashut Stark Ravagers are not great into the faction with the best anti-large shooting in the game. And neither is the other 4 single entities. Okay, yeah. So we get a lot of pick-offs here and there because people are not paying attention. Or here we see the Hobgoblin and Sneaky Kids getting on the Ice Wolves because they're hidden. Things, oh my god, it took so much damage from just one skirmish cav. That is crazy. And the Iron Tongue just being chilling. About to get fucked by the, yep. Oh, it pushed through Skin Wolves. That is cool. Lucky, I guess. Doing a blob there. In the back, the Skin Wolves are cleaning up the mobility is trying to clean up the Chaos Dwarf mobility. Unit's been forgotten. This was on the same patch, right? That's just the players playing badly. Malkoths on the Hashut Stark Ravagers. That's not a good target. Etin getting cooked by single entities. Oh, now the Norscan single entities have joined the battle against the Destroyer. We haven't had cool spell combinations in the background. Nothing relevant is happening. Everything important is happening right here. And it looks like the Chaos Dwarfs are having the upper hand, but the Moss of Savagery might... Ooh, yeah, Lord Snipe, nice. Now, this thing is still unbreakable. Oh, and it's getting healed, okay. Lord Snipe, cast a Snipe, very smart. Ignore the big monkey, because it's very hard to kill. Ignore the Iron Demon, because it's very hard to kill. Wait, what happened to the Moss of Savagery? They're back, okay. Caster got sniped, so it's just the 2 single entities left, no shooting, right? Yep, somehow all the shooting got taken offline. And now I don't think anything can beat this. Let me see if I'm right. Malkoths, burning, killing the dogs. Ooh, the dogs are not rioting? Yes, they are, okay. Yeah, and Wolfric just needed like 1 hit to die, so that was it. And now we're at the point where Norska gives up because the Lord's dead. Right. Not that much of a skillful game as I hoped it was. Where did I struggle? This one, but that was already cast. No, I think I'll end it here, and I hope everyone had some form of takeaway from this stream. I hope, Katri, you specifically learned enough.
Yes, sir.
Everyone who's watching, feel free to reach out to me if you need to know about specific faction matchups or specific players' factions. I'm always happy to talk about that. Yeah, with that, I will end my stream. Thank you, 3, 4, 5 people. I don't know how many are watching and I don't know where to see it, so I thank the people who are watching, and I will see you all in the Warhammer World Cup. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sepa.